Hi, welcome to Andrew Buckle book review of Penguin Book of Comics, George Perry and Alan Aldridge. This is from 1971. There was an early version, 1967. I don't know the differences between them. And this book, it's got 272 pages. It's black and white and colour, bit of colour. Lots about UK comics as well as US comics. Very little about anywhere else. You really struggle to find anything. There's nothing about manga comics or anything like that. Still, this is the Penguin Book of Comics. Let's just go through it. And it is a lovely book. And it was, for me, the first real exposure to a bit more of a range of comic books that I just didn't know existed. Also, it just had superb Alan Aldridge art. I loved his artwork. Really the best. I mean, weirdly, it's got some European artwork. Obviously, Roman, and you've got those other ones there, Egyptian, and so on. And I mean, but that's it for European art. I'm not certain why they completely ignored all that. So there was lots and lots of, Barbarella and all those sort of things. Very strange. It also features a lot about the very early days of. Now, some of these didn't really particularly, you wouldn't say as comic books, but they obviously had lots of illustrations. And I loved picking up these ones, illustrated police news or those sort of things. This great, or Spring-Heeled Jack, The Terror of London, no less. And also Comrades, Lightning Charlie. Now, obviously, some of these stories are obviously from the US. Again, a bit of Alan Aldridge there. But you've got these ones. Just really an exposure to a lot of things. Of course, at the time when I was growing up, I wouldn't have known what these were at all. I'd never see them. Though saying that, I did quite often go around my nan's. I would always see these old annuals, and she had lots of ones from the 1920s, 1930s, and they would feature these sort of things. So I wasn't totally unaware of these things. But you got here Chuckles. Lots of stuff about films. In this case, Film Fun. Now, there's a brilliant collection of film funs and really worth checking out. Lots of, obviously, acts and things I've never heard of. Charlie Lynn, I can't say I'm that familiar with Charlie Lynn. Ben Turpin, obviously, Paramount, Max Sennett, I remember those. But there's also Thunderbirds and TV Fun, Arthur Askey. So there's a lot, Jack Warner. There was lots of these sort of comic books that are all characters from various TV series and films and whatever. You've got some colour in here, so you've got, and I love these ones, the Christmas ones, Monster Budget of Christmas Fun. They always, because all they did, they weren't really that Christmassy particularly. They just had a bit of snow. That was about it. And of course, a bit of cheer at the end. You had, I mean, which is actually a fine example of obviously the table there, obviously of the upper class, because it, I'm certain that, and also you very rarely have a sort of crow there just on the table. Buster Brown and, I don't know, Tig and Kitten. I don't know if that was slightly cropped there. But also you've got a Look Out Ma, You're Breaking the Hairbrush. As well as, these ones obviously are US ones. And again, not obviously ones that I would have been very familiar with. Why would have, back in the 1970s, definitely Barney Google. Again, they would not appear in the UK. I'm certain that maybe some people would know about them, but I'm certain that many people, when they picked this up, Penguin Book, wouldn't have known any of these characters. Betty Boop, obviously, films and things, but you got Steve Canyon. Again, probably a bit more familiar with those. Little Abner. Little Abner there again. And also, I don't know, there must be a bit of, there's Peanuts. And I loved Beetle Bailey. I was sort of growing up. Wizard of Id. Love those. I always assumed that Wizard of Id was a UK one. Johnny Hart. Oh, well, don't know. But still, of course, the classic Thing versus Submariner. They've got quite a bit of artwork from Marvel. Notable exception, there's not very much from DC. In fact, there's no Superman, there's no Batman in here, which is quite a weird sort of, if you're going to write a book about the Book of Comics, it's very odd to completely ignore Superman, but maybe they couldn't get the license to add them in. I don't know the reason, but still, I mean, look at that brilliant bit of Captain America, and I wouldn't have known this. I mean, this sort of stuff would have been, wow, Captain America, and I don't even think it actually gives particularly dates, unless you're obviously reading the actual thing. It doesn't give any details. So it could have been anything as far as I was concerned at the time. I mean, obviously now familiar with it, but Supermax. There's no EC comics as well, no sort of horror stuff. And it completely ignores all the crime genre, lots of everything. In fact, there's so many areas of comics that you think, but they've got at least got a bit of spirit there. So a bit of crime, I guess, that's something. And newspaper strips. Yes, we do have newspaper strips. Some unusual ones again. These ones, obviously, these from 1920s, I would guess. Dot and Carry. And then we're on to the Jane's Journal. Really lovely one. Enter the Count. I think they were probably more 1940s. Reggie Breaks It Gently. Now, the odd thing about it, most of these are virtually impossible to get in the UK. I mean, you can get booked. There was a brilliant book recently about newspaper strips, just covered lots of them, but they're so hard to find collections of these things. And Jane, Daughter of Jane, I'm Patty. Even some of the more recent ones, relatively recent anyway, talking about 1970s, 1960s, lots of those ones just can't find. I mean, Tiffany Jones, they've got an example in here of Tiffany Jones, and I probably can't find it now. But there's a Tiffany Jones one, Buck Ryan, you got Fluke. I mean, even Fluke, I think it's 1 or 2 collections, but not many. And they're certainly not reasonably easy to find. This one's Carol Day, of course, superb Carol Day ones. And James, there's Tiffany Jones. So Tiffany, there should be a mega collection of Tiffany Jones. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Fred Bassett, loads of Fred Bassett ones, which I love. I must admit, Fred Bassett's great. And you've got some colour again. Crazy Cat. It is a weird collection, this one. It's a bit all over the place. You got here, just one of my favourite. I mean, that is just a powerhouse. Cap Goes Wild. No wonder, obviously Captain America there as well. I think it's an LMD, of course. Spoiler alert on that one. But again, it's got this. Now, it does all. There are Batman. A little bit of Batman. And of course, I don't know. I was going to say the Penguin, but it's not the Penguin. Also, you've got this, which is a very odd section. They quite often did this. They just would have about 4 or 5 pages about the movies. I'm not even certain what... Oh, that's Tilly the Toiler. Oh, very odd section at the back. But all this book is up to 1971. So clearly, obviously, 1971 is the end point. So there's nothing like Conan and all those sort of things either. But you've also got this. So you've obviously got some Roy Lichtenstein. That's odd. And also Judas Hangs... Well, that's that. Picture learning. Oh, that's weird. You know what? I never noticed that bit at the back. That's very weird, isn't it? Oh, that's a very old one as well. What's that one? That is... Phoebe Zeitgeist. Yes, I think I probably... Oh, does have a bit of sort of European... There's some European art there. Barbarella. That's around it. I mean, really, they could have included a little bit more, I think. So it's there's no Robert Crumb, which is very... You've got, obviously, acknowledgements at the back, and you've got all the various illustrations. But still an absolute... I mean, there's some really massively obvious gaps in this book. There's like literally... They could have had a 500-page book, if not more. But it was, for me, just the best book. And I still like... And also, it's got a lovely texture to the book. That's one of the things I really loved about this one. Just beautiful. And when it came out, you can see £1.25. You can still pick up copies, £4, £3 quite easily. The hardback one's a bit more expensive, but I just absolutely love this one. It does have, like, on the back here, pop up. But again, no mention of... And I didn't really ever think about that until just doing this, weirdly. You know, when you go through these things, you think, why didn't they include DC Comics? Very strange. Completely ignored. Devil Comics, all the Pogo. I don't think Pogo was in here. All those sort of things. Gold Key. Warren Comics. Lots of... And they were like 1960s. They would have been around at that time. Just seems to be a very odd sort of gaps in this book. But still, love it. Absolutely love it. Brilliant collection. Penguin Book of Comics by George Perry and Alan Aldridge. Totally recommended.